Thank you, Amy. And Amy was a big part of all those collectives. So just a huge thank you. Amazing. And thank you to the Sun Valley Forum, the whole team. And also just a huge thanks to all of you who are in this room. It's such an honor to be standing here in front of you because I know so many of you in this room have dedicated your entire lives to this work. So thank you so much for being here. And just a massive thanks to Louis again. I don't know anyone who does, if they don't have a heartbeat, then maybe, but I don't know anyone who doesn't fall in love with this wondrous planet when they see his extraordinary images. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where we are in the world right now first, but who in this room has felt discombobulated at least once in the last couple months? Okay, thank God you're all normal. So I don't know about anyone else, but I feel like we're in this washing machine right now, where you're in the washing machine spinning around, and the buzzer goes off, and you think, thank God it's over. And then it goes again, and again, and again. But I really believe that we don't have the luxury to be in that spin cycle. We need to figure out how we can take back the controls right now, and we have the superpower that we need to do that. And it's a simple superpower. It's in front of us right now. All of us together are the ones that are going to help stop that spin cycle. And what I want to talk about today is what happens when we bring together purpose with partnering with urgency. But first, I just want to talk a little bit about why that's so important right now. And you all know the health stats of the planet. We're seeing declining glacier ice. We're seeing increasing ocean temperatures, increasing surface temperatures. And just recently in September, Johan Rockström and an incredible group of scientists launched the world's first planetary health check, a comprehensive health check for the planet. And what it shows us is that we are nearing a red high risk line that if we cross it, it will be catastrophic and irreversible damage to life as we know it today. But the scientists are also clear that we have a 5-year window left to turn this ship around. So we have 5 years, but we're not doing very well right now. If you look at it, what's happening is it's almost as if the planet is having systems failure. We've rushed it into the emergency room. There's hundreds of us sticking Band-Aids all over the planet, not working together, working in the dark, not connecting the dots, and not prioritizing. We need to change this emergency room scene quickly. And the good news is that we have everything we need to change it. We have an unbelievable scientific framework that gives us a whole planetary approach. We have incredible solutions that Justin, the amazing Justin from One Earth, is going to talk about, many others over the next couple days. And we've also done it before. And I want to share a little bit about that story as well, because it's an amazing point of hope for us right now. So the scientific framework, again, was the Planetary Boundaries framework that was created by Johan Rockström and a group of about 28 global scientists. And it's 9 planetary boundaries that we need to stay in that safe green operating space in. And of course, it's climate, but it's also looking at biodiversity, land use, chemical pollution. And right now, the science tells us that 6 out of those 9 boundaries have been breached, and a 7th is on the verge of being breached. And they've also, for the first time, started to do the incredible blood work of the planet. So to tell us what direction those boundaries are headed in. And only 2 right now are headed in the right direction. So one of the things we're really excited about with a group of scientists and with Johan at the helm is looking at how do we build a NASA control center for the planet so that we have all this amazing data on the planet in one place. And that we're not looking at the planet's health episodically or annually. We're looking at it every single minute to help us guide our decisions. And I really welcome anyone in this room that wants to partner on this with us just to come grab me, because we're super excited about helping the scientists get this off the ground. But I think one of the things that we forget is that the planet's health is our health. And if you take one of those boundaries, if you just take novel entities, There's 70,000 man-made chemicals in the world right now, with less than 1% tested fully for human safety. And one collection of those chemicals, if you just take microplastics, the University of New Mexico did an incredible study last year where they found that 100% of the brains, testicles, and placentas that they tested had microplastics in them. And we cheekily did this campaign last year in New York and plastered it across restrooms all over New York City and got an amazing reaction. As you can imagine, any man walking into this loo would pay attention to this. And so we're trying to think about what are those ways we can use cheekiness and try to reach people to get that intersection of human and planetary health. But it's not just about plastics. It's also about things like insecticides. 50% of Americans right now are regularly dosed with insecticides. And the USDA found that out of the fruits and the vegetables they tested, anywhere between 30 to 60% of them had insecticides on them. And of course, eating one apple is not going to kill us. But what they're really worried about is that accumulating in people's bodies, especially for young people. And they're starting to see linkages to brain development right now. But it's also not just about human health. We are killing all living ecosystems that are keeping us alive right now. And at the same time, we're killing wonder for future generations. And if you take another boundary that's also been impacted by novel entities, the nitrogen phosphorus runoff from fertilizer, and again, that has been breached. And the EPA today says that the single greatest threat to water quality in America is fertilizer and nitrogen phosphorus runoff. And again, this is killing, it's causing these algae blooms that are killing ecosystems, causing health issues with humans and with other animals. But the good news is, again, that the boundary model allows us to focus and target in and allows us to understand what the priorities are, where the risk areas are, and it serves almost as this incredible framework that allows us to connect these dots so that we can start to work together to prioritize our actions. And this is why I got so excited about it some 12 or 13 years ago when I started working with Johan on this, just because it's, again, an amazing framework that can bring us together at the scale and speed we need right now. But one of the other reasons why I absolutely love this boundary model is it's a story of incredible hope and success when humanity came together, and that's the ozone community. And I have had the great good fortune to sit at their feet for the last 15 years, the ones that are still alive today, to listen and learn from them about how they did this. And I know some of you in the audience right now may be thinking, oh, but it was only one chemical that they had to get out of the system. They got 100 different man-made chemicals out of our world. And we also have to remember that was 1980s and 90s. Right now, we have so much technology and so much data, so much more than we did. And also, the other beautiful thing about it is that, again, learning from them, learning how they did it, and taking those lessons into what we're doing today. And I just want to share quickly 6 of those lessons. And the first one is really, they had this intoxicating purpose, the hole in the ozone, and they connected it back to human health so that everyone knew that if we didn't do this, if we didn't come together, we would have cataracts, we would have skin cancer, and ultimately our ecosystems would collapse. But they also used humor to call out the absurd. When Ronald Reagan's Interior Secretary came out saying, oh, we don't need to protect the ozone, you just need personal protection with sunglasses and hats. This cartoonist was brave enough and courageous enough to use humor to call out the absurd. And we're not doing that right now. Like, it's absurd that we still are putting 1.8 trillion plus into environmentally harmful subsidies and then trying to raise capital over here. Just makes no sense. So how do we start calling out the absurd? They also got it into mainstream media. So this is the cover of Time. They also brought it into products so that companies started to use it as a product advantage, saying they didn't have CFCs. And they brought it into mainstream culture. This is the amazing G.I. Joe ozone, which was a part of a series of environmental Hasbro characters back in the 80s. But they also really importantly got it into mainstream TV. And in 1974, when they first discovered it was an issue, they got it into this TV show that was larger than any other in America.
I don't hate children, Gloria. I love children. That's why I don't want to bring it into the world the way it is now.
Oh, come on. Stop playing Hamlet.
And you stop being so damn naive, Gloria. Take a look around you if you can see through the pollution. You want to take a kid to the beach nowadays? You don't give him a sand pail, you give him a garbage pail.
Okay, Mr. Ecology, but all that can change. They're going to clean up the air, too.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? What about spray cans?
What?
Yeah. Here, right here. This is a killer.
Oh, so now my hairspray is a killer.
Yeah, your hairspray, my deodorant, all spray cans. I read that there are gases inside these cans, Gloria, that shoot up into the air and can destroy the ozone.
What's the ozone?
Ozone is a protective shield that surrounds the Earth that protects us against ultraviolet rays. You know what they can do?
Yeah, they can give you a sunburn.
Sure, when the ozone's there, but when it's all gone, you can get skin cancer, and God knows what it could do to the plants and crops.
Well, all right, Michael. Let's compromise. You let me have a baby, and I'll let you have my hairspray.
So again, they use humor with really clear messages. So that was lesson number one. Lesson number two is they had this methodology called start and strengthen. They built these deep connections of circles and built up from there. And they used to talk about Mustafa Tolba, who is the lead architect of the Montreal Protocol. He used to talk about how they'd get people in a room, have them take off their cloaks of authority, and then debate the challenges and the opportunities, and then put their cloaks back on, go out to the negotiating table with solutions rather than just problems. And they also talked about how they celebrated incrementalism. So every single success and challenge. And I asked Stephen O. Anderson, who led the TEEB project, phasing out CFCs industry by industry, why are we not moving fast enough right now? And he said, who would want to be part of something where we set these audacious goals and then we never reach them? So it's this constant failure. So how do we start celebrating these moments of incremental success? The third thing they had is an open tent, and they had unlikely connections in that tent. So they wanted to make the solving of the ozone crisis everyone's opportunity, not just an exclusive group. And they broke down the barriers for the people that perhaps wouldn't have been able to get into the tent, like the countries who hadn't caused the problem. So it wasn't just about putting a fund there. They created hit squads that would help actually other countries phase out CFCs. And they also broke down things like IP, and they got competitors across lines working together. And they had, again, deeply unlikely connections. And this is just a beautiful quote from some young leaders in Australia. When the 1987 negotiations weren't going great, they came together and sent this beautiful note to the negotiators. Relational scaffolding, they had 12 things to create this extraordinary culture of service and friendship within the Montreal Protocol team. They also had unstoppable urgency. And they invested in science so they could track how they were doing and then help make sure that they were pivoting to make sure that they were responding to those issues with the priority and the speed they needed to. But most importantly, they had the people. And they had this group of deep connections at the center with very unlikely environmentalists like Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan that just kept on going, some of them still now, 40 years later. And this is a beautiful quote from Mustafa Tobel that talked about these circles of friendship built on hard work and built on trust. And over the last 20 years, we've built a number of different collectives around the world, the elders, the B team, with an amazing group of partners. And we see their power when they come together. And the most recent one we just built is the Planetary Guardians. And this is a group of very diverse collective that came together with the mission to make the Planetary Boundaries science a measurement framework for the world and an operating framework. And they wanted to have the planet at their core. They wanted to have nature, indigenous peoples' wisdom, and science at their core. So this is their logo, which we used AI to listen to the Amazon, the Arctic tern that flies from pole to pole, and also to the Great Barrier Reef. And all of these things had those three things in common. They had an intoxicating purpose, they had partners at the center, and they had an unstoppable sense of urgency. And just to close with one last story, and this is a group called the Elders that was really brought together to focus on peace and human rights in the world. And in 2013, we went to Johannesburg with them, and we weren't to know it at the time, but it was the last time they were going to be with Mandela before he sadly passed later that year. And I was watching this group at lunch, and there was laughter and love and tears at the table. And at the end of the lunch, Nelson Mandela stood up at the table, and he was well into his 90s at that stage, but he had more stature than any human being I've ever met. And he gently put his left hand into his wife Graça's, and then they turned to leave the room. But he turned back to look at this group of friends, and his smile and his eyes lit up the entire room as if he was saying, "You've got this. You've got this now." And then he turned gently and walked out of the room. And so as I stand in front of incredible groups of people like all of you, all I can think of is we've got this. We've got this now. So make sure you spend these next few days at this incredible forum, finding that deep connection, those deep connections and circles of friends, that intoxicating purpose, and that unstoppable sense of urgency, because we never, ever, ever can give up. But also make sure you listen to this beautiful quote of E.O. Wilson about how do we bring these teams of altruists, like the people in this room together, to become unstoppable and to really run towards a future that everyone will want to get to. So huge thank you for listening.